It turned off for some reason. Um, whew, yeah, nervous about police, nervous about. My subconscious just goes on high alert with the police. I think because, like, in a sense, my personal sense of power is possible to be in conflict with their sense of power and their domain, and or incidents that I've had in my life have more or less, probably if not certainly, made me somewhat of interest to the police to some degree. That's all I can say about that. I haven't committed any crimes. It's just more like uh, observe things and made sure that something came across about the severity of what you observe in the behavior of often not just violent human beings, but violent groups of human beings. You know, that's why if you go into a store and someone treats you badly, you don't like anyone in the store because they've hurt you as a group. It's not just the one person, right? White people have lost some of this, you see, and they get very angry when I talk about it. But if you're in a group that's enjoying a brand and a group identity, let's say, and a member of that group does something, it is a dishonor to the entire group. It makes you all look bad, which is why you don't want people to do that. But when people lose that inhibition and you start to think, oh, that's just one of our employees and that's just that member of our family, that's just blah, 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 that's just that police officer, and it doesn't reflect badly on all of you, you make it easier for people to lower their inhibitions to do bad things to you or other people. Society, as much as it's kept together by any law, is kept together by a reasonable sense of shame and dishonor, which is why you don't want your children committing crimes. It would be a dishonor to you, right? It speaks ill of you, doesn't it? If, unfortunately, your group or your family has somehow led to this violent behavior, so that one and all of you could be seen as dangerous to the rest of society. If your family consistently produces violent people, then your family essentially could be seen as a danger to society. Nobody wants to go down that road. You know, you want to start arresting families for being a danger? No, right? So we employ a modern convention in ethics that most people never really thought they had to learn, but you did, which is that people will do bad things because life sucks. And life is hard. And things that make us examine how hard it really is and what types of lengths and desperation people can go to, we don't need to have to deal with that because that would be demoralizing to us. It's like the cult, right? There's only two places in the cult, right? The purposefully deluded and the out and out violent people around them who are also purposefully deluded, right? Whether they're God, right? Go test those boundaries one day and see what happens. And all of that has the power of a personal and collective sense of survival. People who deny things deny them to survive. And so violence that happens in their groups is acceptable to the group and has a plausible deniability in having to ever hear. Fits within to a certain range of categories that can be sort of pushed up the chain to the complaints department. And then, you know, people can be placated and we could all go on because let's face it, life is tough. And we can't be expected to explain the behavior of one of our bus drivers or a distant member of your family who murdered 3 people in a McDonald's. You know, just put that out of your mind. That reflects badly on our family and maybe all families. Because somehow a lot of people can resonate with the fact that their home is not a happy place. And from better homes than theirs, criminals were made. Not because anyone should be a criminal, but because life's precipitous when you're living in an oppressive environment. In other words, it becomes harder to live. It's just difficult. And you can't imagine, and no one wants to hear what you imagine is the, wow, what is that? Looks like it's got all kinds of symbols on it, but it's just a silver stone. Let me see this. Oh, I think somebody had it. Okay, interesting. Okay, I had to see that for myself. Oh, my body is so nervous. It's amazing how much they can because to me, I feel like a native person, and they have hurt so many native people. Like, it really challenges your white, not your white privilege, your white capacity with white language. You know, like with the police, it's like, oh, they're wonderful people. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Oh, can I buy you a free? How can I suck your dick, sir? You're an awesome person. Have a good day, man. Can I get your extra coffee? Yeah. You're one of us. You're one of the real alphas. You're really protecting the common man. Thank you, man. I know you got a hard job. I know it's awesome. You're like the Lone Ranger. All right. Have a good day, man. Civilians, right, who don't know, as the police will tell you if you ever study them, language, right? Families of the RCMP will tell you that they're like a cult. They're like a cult, okay? And any cult has problems. And it's part of a desert that future police might want to know that you're coming into an environment of its military proportions where, you know, you are cut off because you have to do things that the rest of the world don't need to understand. And maybe you don't even understand. But that, as far as you know, everyone trusts the people teaching you. And so they have all this rousing support. Yay! Oh, we got another, new RCMP office 2018. Yay! And here's some more. Yay! All these incredibly well-trained, non-psychic, totally helpful people. Yay! And having people around me in my physical proximity that, if ordered to do so, would put their hands on me and could shove my balls up my ass if they wanted to, crank my hands behind my back, crack my skull with various objects, spray poison into my eyes, throw me into the back of a car, right, and drive me and put me in a cell, and my mother would never see me again. Can you see where I would get those types of thoughts if you know anything about Canada? You see where I could have those kinds of fears? That every day for me, and not in any real sense that I get to claim as real, but in a sense I think is meaningful to me, Indigenous Day. Because all my thousands of miles of walking have made me kind of a better animal in some respects, but they've also scared the hell out of me more and more and more. As they have throughout my life, I've had time to contemplate all the people that I've met and how painful it is for me, and how really it's all been about pain all the time. And these people, in ways that have rarely seemed useful to say, you could say are in pain. It hardly, it doesn't satisfy my spleen in the sense that I'd prefer to say that they, humans have this awful sickness, because of patterns of aggressive behavior that all these people have demonstrated to me with very lasting effects, including, having almost uniformly negative impression of every person I've ever known. Is that because I'm such a nice person? I'm such an above par human being that I can judge whether they're a good person or a bad person? But I can only judge someone by how they treat me. That is the final judgment right there. And if you come into my home and I don't feel safe, what do you want me to think? What do you want me to tell people? I felt totally safe around this person? Do you want me to lie and say that your family may not have left you a bit demented, but you're doing an admirable job surviving? Do you think I don't, on some level, have a heart that would say, I would love to hand these people in a totally therapeutically exceptional environment leave to relax all the lengths to which they've gone to survive so they can take a breath, feel safe again, and have time to kind of restore what has understandably threatened their sense of integration and health, to lead them in a path that saw a demonstration of attitudes toward me in my home, which I found eminently offensive, ethical, and dangerous. And that in any sense that I speak of such things, I know for a fact through many years of study that all these types of things threaten your health. You don't want to live around someone, however honestly abused they've been, who threatens your well-being. And people who have been abused can make you sick. They can make you sick, man. And it's an awful thing. I'm sick too, or I'm always going to feel threatened. Like, I don't get sick very much, but when I feel like what I do today, which is like a lot of anxiety, I have to calm it down. And it's okay. It's a revisitation of past shocks. I talked about the RCMP and shocks that I can feel that Native people have gone through, right? And the RCMP get a pass when anyone talks about them. So they have definitely a very powerful organization, no doubt about it. And maybe it should be studied in its many dimensions, that the police should enjoy children looking at the beautiful azure blue edifice of law and law enforcement as such and such an exceptional, if mythical and legendary part in human society. And then there should be another place where you can learn with the appropriate support system about all the evil of that establishment, if nothing else, in service of growing to the true spirit of what the law is supposed to be, once we figure it out, because, we're just, it's trial and error, right? One, try and get maybe I did a pun, trial and error. Anyway. Right, it falls in that category of this is just the best we have. And if you're unfortunately plagued with the types of emotions and forms of indignation and persuasive command of English language as I am, then you will suffer. Until you suffer more. I'm by myself a lot, so I didn't realize until I lost it how enjoyable the last week was of Christmas. It's one of the best Christmases I've ever had. Walking, my mom, me shopping, the season, everything. It came off pretty nicely. With a few little hiccups, but my mom made it really lovely as well. So, just really impressed. She's the heart, she's the center, and she's a better person than I am in many ways. But I want to give her spirit strength by learning more from it in a way. Maybe that would be my best gift to her. Quietly learn more from her as a person. She does so much. I love her spirit, and she's never been afraid of the police. Nor was my dad. They were never afraid of the police. But people just have very enormously different perspectives on what they do. And the police, like I said, I'm sure are quite prepared for people to be a bit disaffected, unable to control nervous body language around them, because I am nervous around the police. And yet I'm very alert, because there's a predator on the premises. That's all. Just like if a soldier came by, hail the predator, because that's what you do. Read some fucking Machiavelli and shine your fucking boots. With renewed pride. This whole thing about fashion in the military, like the haircut, the shiny boots, the perfectly made bed, as though actually it's like magic, right? I've known sexual predators and narcissists who say that clothes are magic. Doesn't mean they're wrong magic. You put on your charms every day because you put on your fashion, you put on your because essentially you're fooling people into seeing you as a wonderful, beautiful person. And everything is just wonderful for you all day long, because ultimately if people see how wonderful you are, everything will just, right? Why wouldn't you want to do that? Except that it's all fake. How much better to just wall away your agony and you finally get in a good mood, and you can genuinely be in a good mood. And when I do, at the end of my day, what's more, and a significant number of days of the year, I get sexually harassed by an older woman or the like, and the odd man, and I don't like it. It's left me very bitter. it's taken away my quality of life. I work really hard at what I do. And I think yesterday was a good example of getting into the bath and feeling a little weak in my heart because banished that with this stick. It's one weak in my heart in a way that I know is related to people. And got a bit of a chill yesterday, not too bad, but my heart was just lost some of its fidelity, and I could tell like I was a little weakened. And I was like, shit. And I a spell. Had a pretty good sleep, kind of nightmarish, but not bad. It's a bit early. And I'm just sort of sitting there, I guess. Unfortunately, I don't know these people. One of them uses my name, which I hate. I acknowledge that people need help to see us the way we want them to see us. But then it's also that people I've known who like to be very persuasive almost enjoy too much putting on a certain aura. And it works, like I get it. Like my dad was always brush his hair, and a lot of time brushing his hair before he went out. Always had the barber, this, that. So the fact that I just grew my hair long just infuriated him. I sort of, in a way, wasn't his son anymore, I think. And it was weird how I kind of backed into the fact that, and it stayed with me for years now, that how I appeared to my father physically had a lot to do with whether or not he loved me. Because in a very quick sense, growing up in a poor family, how you looked was everything. You gotta look well, you gotta look sharp. It's a part of being a good working person, essentially. I feel like this isn't the floor. Oh well, we'll do. It's not a very pleasant place to work. Anyway. And when I think about interactions I've had with the police and how they treated me, to change the subject, and maybe to balance that out with discussions of my father's behavior toward me in how much essentially one's costume and how one appeared, would matter for the rest of your life. And my dad would sort of passive aggressively criticize me for what I was wearing. I was always uncomfortable around him, One of the reasons sometimes he would tell me to take off my jacket, I went to see him at his condo once, and I didn't want to. The reason was so that I could get up and leave, obviously, and flee whenever I needed to, as you often did around my dad. I just, don't get too comfortable, go out for a walk or something. My sister, there's just things that would happen since I was young where it's a good idea to just get up and go. Just go for a walk. It saved me a lot of trouble, and, unfortunately, I love my dad. I wanted to live a long time, but beyond a certain age, he was a lot of trouble for me. He was nothing but trouble. And he didn't think about whether he was trouble for me. He just thought of me as trouble, and I wasn't a lot of trouble at all. I didn't have to be. And a man who could really deal with life properly, in a way that you might think, to look at my father and how he appeared, would not necessarily need to hurt his son. And if he thought I needed to go on disability or just doesn't like things to be, then that was something that we've been to. But what's more important to your son is that most of the reason I don't tell people about what I do, and most of the time I wouldn't have told you, and most of the reason I don't tell my mom, who I love very much, is because it's mostly to do with pain. Because most of what they told me was that they were in pain. Learn the right ways to cover it up, as well as you did. And it's good that you did. I know you needed to, and we all have some of that. But no two people are ever more dangerously, not always dangerously different, than in how they deal with pain from one generation to the next. It's so related and yet so different and volatile at the same time, isn't it? I'm speaking somebody's language out there, surely. Surely I'm not just speaking to myself. I know who is Shirley, but Shirley will find out soon. Soon Young will tell us. Young, please tell us who Shirley really is. So, Soon. My name is Soon, and I am young. That's not a joke to offend Asians. It's a joke how different languages don't translate. But are kind of related as well. I think all languages are related to their creator. This royalty, you know, created all the languages of the world or changed them. And I'm quite willing at this point, as someone who used to believe the earth was flat, to believe that just about everything about language and anthropology in some sense contrived or is conceited in some way. And you can sack enough of the true nature of its provenance and the true nature of its success, and that has prevailed over you and given you a means to acquit yourself of what is knowledgeable enough to survive and what is worth calling knowledge that relates to your survival on a massive scale. And that's part of your culture. And a nice thing to assume is that all the people you told were scientists know all this, and there's no funny business, no trickery going on there on any level. And it's like when a scientist of this caliber tells you that a leaf is a leaf is a leaf, and it is every bit the leaf as I can tell you at the genetic level. Let's put this here. Let's see. Don't sing. Let's have some coffee. Baba la bajada, baba leda, baba la bajada. I could actually put on my waterproof shoes right now and have some coffee, right? On a break. I don't know if that police officer's measuring me up as to if he has to have an encounter with me. I have to give my body language of yeah, I'm a strong guy, but look at this. I'm on 2 feet. If he was really concerned about me, he could just say, turn out your pockets. It's like, mea culpa. It's nicer. It's peaceful. I wish my mother well. She's making shepherd's pie today. Thanks, Mom. And in between this sea and reaching over here. Oh, shit. Something big just fell. Wow. Oh boy. Well, this is the new year. It's blowing in with a storm. As long as it's safe, I accept in a way that the paramedics probably wouldn't need to hear about that. Nature is kind of doing what it needs to do. In that I accept, not accepting that there are great perils to be had being among these trees. I'm thinking this thing could fall right now. It's like, you gotta be, when you hear trees falling, it makes you a little twittery. It's like when you're around trees. It's like with humans, when you see a human, a human's violent, you hear about humans being violent, right? Can't you just walk around and be like, oh God, that's a human. I heard they shoot people, and you can be scared of all humans. Which makes you wonder. I think to myself when I pass people on the trail and they're like, oh, hello, and you think somebody, probably some of these people you've said hello to, have murdered somebody. How do you know they haven't? Maybe they got away with it. It's like, oh, no, I could never. Um, years. I mean, this winter was about getting away from this. So raising my game and not letting anything turn into something. And so far, it's been pretty good. What the thing is that what hasn't changed is that I do meet people on the trail, which is the context I guess I might be. It happens from time to time that I just get sick of the people that I meet, and or I didn't like them the first time I met them. You know, and let's just admit it, right? I don't. And if they're female, they like me. They're very friendly and excited when they see me, or it's in their way of life. It's like, hey, you know what? And they correlate body type. Certain women of certain body type are always very excited to see me. The reason you'd say, oh, why is that? Is because when you're approached by people who kind of harass you for any reason, have agendas, other directed energy, you might say they have a certain kind of personality. And as much as anyone has a certain kind of personality, which is well developed and strong enough to be this way, their development of that personality attended the development of their body and the way their body is developed. So everyone's body and everyone's personality, at least under a lot of the circumstances that I've seen, are very related to each other. So if certain people are violent to you, they might have a range of if similar body types. You might say, oh, it's always men, or it's always these women, or it's this. So for me, my number one predator is females. I'm not even giving their age. Any and all females. To me, women have taught me that I should assume that a woman is a threat at all times until proven otherwise. So in a way, what I'm saying about these people is that, especially with women, they don't think they have to prove they're not a threat. They're the ones that judge you. You don't get judged. They don't get judged. And in that way. But women especially, but also men, who have never given me the signal that they're safe and that they're not going to harm me, right? That's not the same as becoming friends. That's a related thing, right? But when someone is like cool, you say, like, you see this person enough and it's always kind of like low key, because I'm out here, obviously low key environments. It's not a busy, crowded place. It's full of music and noise, but it's also quiet. People factor. And you could say everyone's out here for similar or different reasons, both. And then these encounters yield effects, maybe in both people. And what's that I can come home, given this lifestyle, and feel weakened by people that I've been around, even temporarily, whether in a bus or just passing by them on the trail, and I'm interested to them in some way, or they come a little closer, or they speak in an unusually familiar way. Like I just and so, children, that is my sermon for the day. I hope that you can smell it now, and it will go into your olfactory system. You'll have olfactory nostalgia, and one day you'll just be like, what is that? Oh, but it's also what that man was talking about. Somehow I associate. I figure it out. Yeah, I figure it out as I go along, senor. I am also kind of crazy. The weed is so strong, but I'm going to give it a quick little puff. Ooh, I'm a little paranoid today. I don't know why. Well, my mind was disturbed yesterday by things, people. And then today I have to get through the anger a bit, do some learning. I am oriented to talking about painful subjects, so maybe I'm looking for something painful. I don't know. It was neat that police officer was there, got his gas, and I just basically for a moment as I'm doing my jacket, I wonder if he's sitting there looking at me, because you don't know. You know, am I doing a good enough job of being like innocuous and just like, not trying to make eye contact? And then I want him to leave before I do. That's kind of like a test for me. And he passed the test, so he pulled out. So he's not interested enough to sit there. Pulls out. I also sort of want them to know, in the way that my emotional body is capable of being honest, and yours is, your body language. Because I'm not an actor, per se, that I'm aware that their detachment has stalked me in the past. Either making contact and telling me, or showing me in other ways. Under certain parameters. It's okay. That's okay. That's right. I got you. No worries, man. Yeah.
Hey, thank you.
Yeah. It's more. I'm in the way.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it. Yeah. Nice guy. Oh. That. Ooh. Let me just get. Is what you would call a very nice white. This leaf here looks like the top of an Amanita muscaria.